In today's episode, we're going to be talking about 12 tips that will help you win your upcoming fight. Doesn't matter if it's kickboxing, Muay Thai, boxing, MMA, all these tips are going to help you have victory in your bout. If you are unfamiliar with me, you're new to the channel, my name is Gabriel Varga. I'm a 6-time pro kickboxing world champion. You can see some of my belts behind me. Glory, Bellator, Hero Legends, the list goes on. And what I want to do for you is make sure in your upcoming fight, whether it's your first one ever or your 5th, 6th, 7th, doesn't really matter, anything under 10, these tips are really gonna help you out. They're gonna help you figure out how to get that victory. Once you get over 10 fights, you kind of develop your own routine. And if you do have over 10 fights, some of the things that I mentioned today might be new for you and you might add them in. But you also may go, you know, I already have a routine and I'm happy with that as long as you're winning most of your fights. And it's been the same thing for me throughout my career. Much of what I accomplished was based on me using trial and error, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't, having the super important things that led me to victory. So let's start off with tip number 1, and we are talking about finding a good coach and a good cornerman. Without this element, you are going to be struggling, because it doesn't matter how good you are, if you get into a fight that is a little bit difficult and you don't have that person there who needs to give you the right information, you are going to struggle mid-fight. If you don't have a coach who's there for you in training camp, you're not going to be as good as you could on fight night. So taking the time to research the different gyms around you and find somebody who has lots of credentials, who's going to help keep you safe and get you ready for upcoming fights, that is very important. It's a common question on the channel. People send me messages, they tell me the things their coaches are doing wrong and say, should I look for a new gym? And I say, absolutely. It doesn't hurt to look and see if there's a better option. Tip number 2 has been very important to me my whole career, and that is selecting an appropriate opponent. That does not mean we want to duck and dodge everybody and we're going to hand select people who should not be going up against us. Case in point, when many of the Olympic boxers who win medals go to pro, they will be fighting people on their debut who have these abysmal records. You just won a gold medal at the Olympics in boxing and your first opponent is something like 0-7. And it's such a joke. So these guys are buttering up their record with very weak opponents. We don't want to do that. But we also need to be very realistic, not naive. And if it's our first fight, we don't want to be going up against somebody who has 10, 15 pounds on us. Or if it's our first fight and somebody else has 5 fights, you might go, oh, it's just 5 fights. It's not that big a deal. Yes, it is that big a deal. Imagine how good you would be with 5 fights of experience under your belt. So select appropriate opponents, equal weight, equal fight records, hopefully equal training time, and then from there you'll see how good you really are. The next recommendation which I have is to set a specific length for your training camp. Many people who are starting off will just train all year long, because, as they should be, they're trying to improve their skill set. But if you just train all year long, sort of at a consistent pace, you're not going to be ready for the fight. You have to ramp up. But if you go in training camp mode all year long, you're going to burn out. And when you start getting close to the fight, you might realize, oh, I'm in too good shape too early. So yeah, cruise along throughout the year. And then I would suggest, as a fight approaches about 6 to 8 weeks out, I used to do 7. That was an ideal time for me when I was training year round. I would, boom, ramp it up, push hard for those 7 weeks and be fight ready. I feel like this is a very important thing to do. All high-level fighters have a training camp, have a select amount of time that they're going to use to prepare for their fight and for their opponent, the particular opponent which you have. So do this for yourself. It will benefit you. Tip number 4 is find cross-training methods to help you improve your cardio. Some people hate running. Some people don't even think about doing cross-training. They're just like, oh, I'm gonna go have a Muay Thai fight, so I'll just train Muay Thai. Some people think, oh, I should go and do biking. There's so many options. You need to find one. Why do we need to do this? Well, we get very good at sport-specific motions. And sometimes it's hard to tire yourself out to that extreme level in a short period of time. We don't need to go for a 2-hour run, but we do need to go out and do half an hour and blast the body, especially when it's an activity that we're not used to and we're not doing consistently like we might be doing our training for our fight prep. Running, biking, swimming, something in that realm that's going to challenge your cardio and will take you outside your element, you need to do it. Because guess what? If your cardio gives out in a fight, nobody can help you. Your coach can give you the best advice in the world. It will not do anything if you don't have the gas to do what they ask. Next up, I would like to talk with you about minimizing injuries. This takes a massive amount of work to minimize injuries because we're pushing. We're challenging the body constantly in all the output it is giving us. And if we just do that without any thought of minimizing the injuries, what are we going to do to take care of ourselves? Then all of a sudden we get midway through our training camp, which we already talked about, and the body gives out. And now you're not able to train as hard as you should be, and your skill level, your cardio is all going to drop. So what can we do to minimize injury? Well, we can take steps for active recovery, things like ice baths, red light therapy, rolling our body out, stretching. All of those are going to make a world of difference. We can do things like take supplements. And the sponsor of this episode is Bioptimizers. They have a magnesium product which is fantastic for improved sleep, which is going to help you recover, and just also physical recovery. What you're going to see with this product is a massive improvement in your overall body health. And guess what, guys? I've talked about this on the channel for a long time. For the month of July, they are giving a bottle away free. You get a free bottle. I mean, before it was, oh, you have to pay the $30, $40. Right now it's free. You only have to pay for shipping. I cannot recommend this product enough. It is something which you should definitely be taking if you're looking at improving your recovery outside the methods which normally take a lot of time or energy. Things like rolling out your body or going for massage treatments, all these are very, very time consuming, very, very expensive. This one, you only have to pay shipping, gives you enough for a 14-day supply. And from what I've heard from everybody on the channel and what I know from myself, once you start on it, you're gonna want to continue. All right, I got super motivated in between rounds there. I just kind of went, oh, I wanna work out. So I shot up for a 20-minute workout. We're back. Now we're moving on to talking about proper rest. And not the type of rest we were just referring to, where we're looking at sleep. We're talking about those days where your body is just saying, no, I don't want to train. And on those days, you're going to do more damage than good. You might think, I always need to be training. I always need to be at the gym as I prepare for a fight. But what I've learned throughout the years is you're making inclines, you're improving, and then you all of a sudden feel like, uh-oh, and you start feeling like you're leveling out, you're plateauing, or even declining because of hard training and not getting enough breaks, not giving your body that little recovery it needs. So you take a break, you plateau for a day, and then you continue your climb up, as opposed to just going plateau style for a long period of time, or having that negative effect where your skill set actually seems to decrease. So do not be scared. I would say at least once a month to take a day off. That gives you 2 days throughout training camp where you can just rest, and I feel this makes a world of difference in how hard I can train after the break, and improvements are only that much more noticeable. My next tip is to imagine victory very often. And what I mean by this is using visualization, where you close your eyes for 20 seconds, 2 minutes, up to 10 minutes if you need to, and you imagine good things happening in the fights. You imagine your hand getting raised at the end. You imagine everything playing out the way you want it to play out. I can tell you from experience that stepping into the ring, having bad thoughts in your mind, is so hard to overcome. Stepping in, feeling like, oh yeah, I've already had this victory play out a number of times, and I know it's coming in less than 10, 15 minutes, according to how long the fight is. That is a great feeling. That puts you on top of the world, and confidence is a big part of fight sports. When you lack confidence, it can really hurt you. So use those visualization techniques and make sure you imagine victory. The next thing I want to talk with you about is conditioning your body. Not in the sense we're opening up the lungs and improving cardio, we're literally conditioning the body for impact, getting you used to getting hit, because you can be the most skilled fighter, the fastest fighter. You can be the guy with the best cardio ever, but you're gonna get hit. Unless you finish the fight in like 30 seconds, you're gonna get hit during a bout. And if it goes the whole duration and you start to show weakness, you get low kicked and you show weakness, you take a body shot and you grunt, it doesn't matter how good all those other skill sets are, it's gonna lead to your opponent seeing you weak and attacking you over and over. You want to look like a steel wall when he hits you. He wants to have this idea that this guy can't be hurt. Like, I just slammed him to the body and he did not go down. I chopped him as hard as I could to the leg and he didn't flinch. And you want to feel that as well. So take time to condition your body. I do this 2 or 3 times per week, where I just have one of my buddies come over and chop down my legs, punch me to the body for about 2 1-minute rounds. They're hard impact, that's for sure, but I feel like that's enough on top of all the sparring and other drills where I take impact as well. Moving on, I want to talk about finding more skilled sparring partners to make sure that you feel like you're sparring these guys, these high-level guys, and then when you fight, they're a lower skill level. Now we'll get into what do you do if you're the most skilled guy in the room. But if you're sparring, your skill level is kind of mid-tier and you could pick off the easy guys and you feel really good about yourself. Well, that's great, but the fight's usually not going to be like that. And you don't want to be sparring the guys who are the same level, because what happens if this dude in the first round is a little bit difficult to deal with? You want to be used to having a struggle. So aim for those good guys, because they're going to be the ones who pull your skill level up to theirs. Now, if you're kind of like I was when I was younger, you're kind of, who can I spar with? Who's going to challenge me? Well, there wasn't those guys who could go 5 rounds with me in a row and continually challenge me. So what we did was we created what you guys know as Shark Tanking, what we referred to as the gauntlet, where sparring partners would come in fresh, and I'd have fresh sparring partners either every half round or every round. Sometimes I didn't have enough sparring partners, only one person would show up. So maybe they would hold pads from me, they'd be blasting away, then they'd rip the pads off, they'd throw their gloves on, and then they'd come and spar with me. But you're getting that fatigue, and that fatigue element is gonna pull your skill level down. Well, they're gonna be fresh and they're up here. So if you do have that advantage, it kind of evens it out. And that's a great way to make sure that you are finding sparring challenging. The next element which I suggest, which is going to help you win your upcoming fights, is having your training partners, not in sparring necessarily, but definitely in pad work, mimic your opponents. Why do we not have all the sparring partners do it? Well, I find in many experiences that if I ask my sparring partner to go southpaw and fight like a Muay Thai fighter, and they're naturally a orthodox karate fighter, they just do a terrible job. They get hit way too much. It makes sparring far too easy for me. So yeah, if you have somebody who can adapt and change, that's fantastic. If you don't, get your pad holders to throw techniques that your opponent will very often. For instance, if they're a southpaw, they're a Muay Thai fighter, they're going to be blasting that left round kick, have the pad holder blasted in over and over and over, so that when you get into the fight, you are so used to this technique that just muscle memory, you catch it every time and you sweep them, or you evade, or you block and you counter. You want to have pad holders who can mimic opponents. It's the perfect time to take advantage and learn how to deal with those techniques your opponent might throw at you. Next up, I want to talk about making the weight cut realistic. Many of us, especially people who are really into the UFC, are going to be watching these high-level fighters and hearing about these enormous weight cuts which they're doing. And the problem with this is people who have 1, 2, 3 fights think, oh, I have to be doing that as well. So I walk at 170, so I'm going to cut down to 145 because I heard that this UFC fighter was doing it. So dangerous, so unnecessary. Very often in my experience, when we get into the early stages of fights, there can be big skill discrepancies. And if you're the person who has better skills, better cardio, this will be much more important than having the size advantage. Now, you still want to cut weight, granted. That's going to be important. You don't want to be completely undersized, but make sure you're being smart with the amount you cut. I would suggest about 10 pounds. That means you can diet off 5 pounds overnight. The day before weigh-ins, you'll probably lose about 2. That's what happens to me at least. And then it leaves you with 3 pounds for a water cut. You will come out of that feeling healthy, not drained. And I have talked to so many fighters early off in their amateur career who lose fights because they overcut, didn't realize how much it would drain their energy, and you just don't want to start with enormous weight cuts. You want to start small and build and build and build and develop a style that works for you. If on your first fight you try to cut a bunch of weight, you don't know, should I be doing a sauna? Should I be doing a portable sauna? Should I be doing a bath? Should I be putting on the sweatsuit and running? You don't know what works for your body. Your coach can give you some direction, but even he does not know what is going to work for your body. So start small and grow with those weight cuts as your career moves on. The final thing that we're going to talk about today is watching your opponent. Now, you might right away be thinking, well, that's great, Gabriel, but I'm fighting somebody who's having their debut. There is no fight footage of them. We will talk about that in a moment because I have some very good tips for you right there. But first, watching your opponent creates a certain level of comfort. Not naive comfort, but you don't want to get in the ring and see your opponent across there for really the first time, see their face, see their body, and get really nervous. You want to walk in and see this guy and go, I know him. I've seen him a lot. That body doesn't scare me. His face doesn't look scary. I'm ready for this. And watching fights, at least for me, accomplishes that. In addition, you get a sense of their movement patterns and everything like that. Now, yes, you might be saying, there's no fight footage out there. That's not a problem. Most people, even back at the beginning of my amateur career, before internet and social media were as big as they are now, there's always some form of footage out there. People holding pads for their buddy. The gym they're at will post videos, and somewhere in there you'll see the dude training. Very often you only need 30 seconds to stylistically pick up on what this guy's gonna do. Is he in a side stance, bouncing like a karate fighter? No? Okay, well, I don't need to prep for that. Is he tapping his front foot and bouncing his arms? Yes, okay, that's a Muay Thai style. I'm gonna have to box this guy. Is he moving around like a kickboxer? You can judge and pick up on so much by watching a short little clip. And I did this many times as an amateur. Again, before the internet was out there, I've had many people on Zoom ask me to scout opponents for them, say they can't find footage. I do a little deep dive. Like I said, go to the gym's website, go to their social media site, find some footage, and then start building a game plan for them out of that. And we've had very good success on the Zoom sessions, preparing people for their opponents and getting the win. So there you have it, guys. Those are a whole bunch of tips that are gonna help you be victorious in your upcoming fights. And this channel, guys, we're trying to get it to grow. If you like these tips, you have teammates who you think this will help them, you think of somebody, you go, wow, these are good things to relay, make sure you share this video with them. I am really, really hoping to blow this channel up sometime in the next decade up to 1 million subscribers. We went from super small, everything popped. We went to 100,000, even faster now. We're just around the corner from 200,000. This is very exciting for me. 300,000, hopefully next year, and then we'll get to that 500,000. What you guys can do for me is just share. Of course, give the video a like. If you haven't already, get subscribed. But there's gonna be so many cool things coming on this channel. I'm gonna have a new filming space for you guys soon, something much better than this. We're gonna be able to get workouts in together, and I'm gonna be able to invite people to come train with me and stay on the property. So many cool things happening on the channel, and your support in sharing this type of video with others, spreading the love, is just gonna help me so much. So I do appreciate that. All I want you guys to do is be victorious in your upcoming fights. I know how important that is to me, and when I'm preparing for a fight, all I want is victory. That's all I think. I just want the win. More so in the past. Now I'm kind of like, oh, I got my belts. It's not as important, but I know when I was climbing and I was going, oh, I want to win. I have to win. I want these belts down the road. I know what it means. So I hope this was helpful. Guys, as always, train hard. I will see you back here soon for another episode.